through the pain. But look at us now. What I'm saying is life's too short to live in these extremes. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come. And all through the night I wondered and waited, for it's been said, united we stand, divided we fall. To wait here for you, holding it together, just like a desert flower, waiting on the rain to come. And all I know is annualized confusion. And what I'm saying is you don't realize what this means. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come.
All right, welcome to another episode of SOB Sports with your host, Mantar, and one half of Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monty DeFaro, where we are missing PN News. Where's your friend PN News there, buddy?
Woo! Yeah, PN News is on a hiatus. I don't know if it's permanent. I don't know if it's temporary. But I just, I don't know. I can't really answer for the fat fucker. So all I know is he's not here. And we've waited 2 more days, and he's still not fucking here. So fuck him. Let's do the show, baby.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, though, man, I've known you for not a long time, but a little bit of a length of time. And, boy, you are one unforgiving dude, man. You have –
yeah.
You're pretty wrapped tight.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's in my DNA, I think. You know, I just don't have time for fucking stupidity. I don't have time for bullshit. I've always been a straight shooter. You know, if you're pissing down my back, I want you to tell me that you're pissing down my back. I don't want you to tell me it's fucking raining, because we both know that you're pissing down my back, but you think I'm fucking stupid. So if you tell me you're going to be here at 12 o'clock, motherfucker, you better be here by 12:15 or we got an issue. You know what I mean? Don't make up some shit just to fucking pacify me. I don't have time for that stuff. You know, I want to deal with people who are straightforward, no bullshit, just black and white, no gray area whatsoever. That's the kind of person I am, and, you know, it is what it is, but I don't want to change it.
Well, yeah, don't go changing just to please me. Who sang that song?
I couldn't tell you, man.
Don't go changing.
Elvis Presley.
No, Billy Joel. Come on, what's wrong with you?
Listen, man, you could sing me a fucking Lady Gaga song, and I wouldn't have a fucking clue unless it said Lady Gaga on the screen.
Listen, you know sports, you know pro wrestling, but pop culture may not be your strong suit, right?
No, man, I'm not sharp on a lot of subjects, but you know, my father always taught me that if you're going to be good at something, make sure you're good at a few things. Just don't be good at nothing, right? So I try to stick to what I know, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. So I'm almost 55. I'll be 55 in about 11 days, I think, and on the 14th of this month. So I think I'm doing pretty good so far. So I made it 55 years. Let's try to get another at least 25 anyway.
I hear you.
I sure don't want. I don't want to live. I don't want to live much older than that, man. I won't be able to wipe my own ass or feed my fat face, or you know, I won't be able to get up and look in the mirror and see how simply outstanding I look every day. You know, them things are important, bro. You gotta. You know, you have to make sure that you wake up in the morning and you're able to look yourself in the mirror. And if you can do that and you're happy with that, then God bless you, brother, because, you know, person can't ask for anything more than that. You know, you have to be true to yourself. And if you're not true to yourself, you know, what the fuck are you doing? Just swimming backwards? You know, I don't know, Mike. I mean, what kind of people do you like? Do you like fucking bullshitters? You like jokesters? Or you like people that are serious and straightforward and right to the fucking point?
I know we're going to talk about sports here, but I will share this with you, and I'd want your opinion. Is I've been pretty much a businessman my entire life, and through the grace of God, I had the opportunity to do this television broadcast, Monte and Faro, and like I said, I got to meet such great people, such as yourself, right? But the one thing I have found out, especially in this wrestling world, is I've never met such a bunch of bullshit people. It's like you're always trying to be worked. You're being lied to. You do, and then you ask a favor, and then people don't come through, or they don't. It's always about what they want and what they're going to get, and it's a bit disappointing. It's a bit disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, we understand that everybody has their own agenda, but Jesus Christ, you need to be somewhat flexible on that agenda, right? I mean, there's just a point to where you say, hey, what color is the sky today? And the fucking guy's going to tell you orange when you know it's not fucking orange, it's blue, right? But he's still going to tell you orange anyway and expect you to believe that stupid shit. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, but Mike, it seems like it's almost not real, just like wrestling's not real. Like look, you're right. In life, everybody's got some sort of agenda, but I've never seen people try to take advantage of other people as I have in this whole wrestling business.
Oh,
it's
my
scary.
God. Yeah, I think wrestling is a lot like rock music. I think it's a lot like Hollywood. People only give a fucking shit about themselves. They don't want to help anybody else. And they're going to do whatever they have to do and step on whoever they have to do to get to the top and to fit their agenda, right? To make it work for them and only them. And so, I just think that, this world is really fucked up right now and we're really going in the wrong direction. And, we just need to show a little bit more love, a lot more love, actually, and a lot more compassion, because you never know what somebody else's story is, right? I mean, we're all different. We're all different, have different lives, and we've all gone through different shit and survived different shit and are going through different shit on a daily basis, man. People have daily struggles, and I used to be one of them people, man. I'll admit, I used to be one of them people. I was struggling for a long time, and then I found God, and ever since then, man, life's been a breeze, Let go, let God, and if God wants it to happen, it's going to happen. If He doesn't, well, you're just SOL and better find a new fucking avenue to go down, right?
Well, do you think this country's lost God, or even the world has lost God? Is that why it's turned the way it has?
Absolutely. When I was growing up, we started the school day off by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and we would say the Our Father every day, right? And if you look on the front of our money, it says, "In God We Trust," but I don't think that's the fucking case, because they've tried to write God off every avenue that they can. I mean, look at, God in the Bible. He talks about Adam and Eve. He doesn't mention Adam Eva, who's the fucking transgender version. That shit just don't fucking exist in the Bible, right? And so, I believe that, the Bible is there as a guide to how we all should live our life. I mean, you can take bits and pieces what you want, but still, you still have to believe in one God. And in my opinion, I've been to many churches before. I've been to Baptist churches. I'm Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, but I've been to Baptist. I've been to Protestant. I've been to all sorts of shit. And you know what? When I go there, I pray to God. And so I don't give a shit what you believe, as long as you believe in God. As long as you believe in a higher power, then, we are good. But, all this other bullshit, man, just, this transgender shit and all this shit that, shall not, you fucking got people killing their wives and beating up their spouses and just doing stupid fucking unnecessary bullshit, man. Just, people don't want to fight anymore. When I was in school, if I had a problem with somebody, we just went out in the fucking back of the schoolyard and we settled the fucking issue, right? Now it's like they're going to send you nasty messages. They're going to call the fucking police on you. And they're just going to go through all this unnecessary fucking drama bullshit to try to prove a point. And I don't know. This world has changed a lot since I was growing up. And, it's tough, man. I mean, I feel sorry for my 14-year-old daughter because, man, what she's growing up into, man, is just not very exciting, or is it very inviting? And
well, let me ask you this, Mike. So growing up, obviously you were probably a pretty big guy. Can you tell the people out there, like, give me a school fight that you had? And I want to just advance the question a little more. You talked about, hey, go in the back of the school, duke it out, and it's over. It's squashed. Today's day and age, it seems like when someone's beating someone up, and they've got their battle won, they pummel the person until there's nothing left, and maybe they're dead.
Or they're going to fucking shoot them, or they're going to fucking just pull out a gun and shoot them. Nobody wants to fight anymore. Everybody wants to stab you or fucking shoot you. I mean, what the fuck is going on, man? Settle with these two. Settle with the Dukes.
What was it? What was a school fight back in the day for you? Can you go back in your mind and remember and bring up a school fight you had?
I've only been little one day in my life, and that was the day I was born. I was only 5 pounds, 4.5 ounces, man. I could fit in your palm of your hand pretty much. And I think on day 2, I must have been 12 pounds, right? And I just know that I was a really big kid growing up. I couldn't play any fucking football, pee-wee football with my buddies because I was always 80, 100, 120 pounds over the fucking weight limit. And I was within the age limit, but I was way over exceeded the fucking weight limit by a ton, right? So I had no chance. And so we talk about this in my documentary, actually. A friend of my mom and dad said, hey, why don't you get Mike into playing hockey? I was 5 years old, man, and I was fucking the biggest kid in the class at 5. And so they said, well, we'll see if he wants to, put on some skates. So I put on some skates, and, I got on the ice, and I fucking fell right down, man. Got back up, fell right down again. I must have fell down 10 fucking times, man. And I just didn't get discouraged, man. I got right back up. And once I start gliding on them blades, man, it was history. For 11 straight years, I was always one of the best hockey players on the team, always one of the top 1 or 2 person on the team. I was a top scorer, and I was always the fastest, believe it or not. You put me on a pair of skates, and I will beat 9 out of 10 guys in a fucking race. And, I could show you pictures of when I used to play hockey, and I would just tower over these people, and my shoulders were out here, and everybody else is about this fucking big, right? And but again, I've always taken pride in everything I've done. My dad has preached to me since I've been a little boy. If you're going to do something right, do it right the first time, so you don't have to keep going over and doing it again. So that's what I did. And, I was always a big kid. And so, and at a younger age, from probably zero to 11, I was pretty much the fat kid on the block. So everybody used to bully me and pick on me on a daily basis, man. And I remember one time, man, I used to get bullied a lot by the kids in the neighborhood. And we used to have a 4th of July party. And I must have been about, I don't know, freshman or sophomore in high school probably. And we had a 4th of July party. We used to barricade the whole street off and have a big, huge block party for the entire block. And it was about dinner time, 5, 6 o'clock at night. And the neighbor kids started bullying me again. And this kid was probably, a good 3 or 4 years older than me. And he was a freshman on the University of Nebraska's football team at the time. And I was only 14, so he was probably 19, so 5 years older. And we got into a fight, man, and I started chasing him, and he was running around in a fucking circle knowing I couldn't catch him. And his mom and dad called him out. They said, hey, man, what are you running for, you big pussy? You bullied this kid his whole life, man. Stand and fight like a man. So he stopped, turned around, and I fucking blasted him, man. And I mean to tell you what, I beat the living shit out of him in front of the whole fucking neighborhood, his parents included, my parents included. I mean, I was punching him so hard and so fast, they had to pull me off of him, man. And I tell you what, after that day, no fucker ever picked on me again in my life, because that was the very first time that I've ever fought back in my life. And so, it was tough, man. I mean, I remember I got kicked out of eighth grade. My parents had me in a Catholic grade school. And again, I used to get bullied every day at lunch, man, every day at lunch. And on recess one day, man, these fucking kids were just beating the shit out of me for like a month straight. And one day I came home fucking crying, and my dad said, Mike, he says, I'm going to tell you one time how to fix this problem. Either you can listen to me or you can do what you want. He says, but if I was you, he says, the next time that they want to start trouble with you, he said, I would back yourself up. And he says, I would back yourself up into a corner, wait till they surround you. And he said, call the biggest fucking guy out. And when he steps forward, you blast him as hard and as fast as you can. And you keep blasting him. And when you take him out, all the other fucking scrubs are going to run away. And I'll be a son of a bitch, man. The next day it happened. And this fucker, I called him out, man, and he stepped forward. And I fucking blasted him, man. I knocked him out, knocked him down, and I fucking looked at all the rest of them. They all fucking scattered like flies, right? And I remember the principal had me in the office, and she was going to suspend me, right? And my dad used to deliver the mail every day to the school and to the church. And so he came by around, I don't know, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'm sitting in the office. I said, hey, Dad, what's up? And he looks at me, he says, well, the question should be, what's up with you, son? What are you doing sitting in the principal's office? And just about that time, the principal came out and said, hello there, Bob, come on in my office. We got to talk. He said, yeah, he said, it looks like we got to talk. He says, what's going on? And I remember he said, shut the door. He said, no, you can talk to me. And she says, well, Mike was in a fight today with about 5 other kids, and he beat the crap out of one of the kids, so we're going to suspend him. And my father said to the lady, he says, are these the same kids that have been bullying him for this whole school year? And she says, yeah, I think it's the same group of kids, same problems. And he says, he said, my son finally stood up to the bullies and defended himself, and you're going to suspend him from school? And she says, yeah, he threw the one and only punch. And my dad says, okay, well, Jane, if that's how you feel. He looked at me, he said, Michael, go upstairs, get all your shit out of your locker, leave everything that's Holy Ghost's property, and come on down here. He says, because you are no longer a part of this school anymore. And the principal said, oh, wait, Bob, wait, and she said, listen, he says, I'm not going to stand for this crap of you suspending my son for sticking up for himself when these kids have been bullying him for the last 6 months. He said, that's just not going to happen. He says, I in fact told my son to do that. She said, well, he said that you did. He did blame it on you. And he says, well, there ain't no blame here because I did tell him that last night. And he did exactly what I told him to do. And now he's sitting in this office and you're going to suspend him for a week from school. He says, well, you don't have to worry about suspending him. He says, there's only 3 months left of school. He says, I'm going to leave my daughter in school here, but I'm taking Michael out. And at the end of this year, you can consider my kids no longer going to be a part of this school because what you guys believe in isn't right. And it's definitely not what we believe in. So we're out of here. And so I come down. My dad was in the office. He says, all right. He says, well, get your ass home. He says, I'll see you in a couple hours. I said, okay. And you know what? I never got in trouble for it. My dad asked me how I felt about it. I told him I was, a little disappointed because, I got to go to a new school and make all these new friends. But you know what? If I would have never went to this new school, I probably would have never started amateur wrestling because after about being in this school for 2 weeks, my woodshop teacher, Mr. Nye, he came to me one day. He said, "Hey, bud," he says, "Have you ever thought of going out for wrestling?" I said, "No, man." I said, "I'm a hockey player. I don't know shit about wrestling." He says, "Well, would you like to come out?" He says, "Maybe you can stay after school." And, he says, I says, "Well, I don't have no gear." He says, "Well, you got a pair of gym shorts." He says, "Your tennis shoes are fine." He says, "And go home tonight if you like it. Ask your parents if you could wrestle and have them sign this form and bring it back if you want." I said, "Okay." So that's what I did, man. And I remember when I first locked up with that dude and I threw him into next week. That was all she wrote for me. That was all the sales pitch I needed, man, because I was all in. That was the greatest feeling in the world, was to grab that dude around the waist and just fucking chuck him into next week, man. It was the greatest. So, I truly believe that shit happens for a reason in your life, and that people come into your life for a reason, that you cross people's paths for a reason. And I don't know, it's just the way it is, man, the way it's always been, So got into wrestling and I took to it and, won a couple state titles, a couple world championships, and I was slated to be a 1986 Olympian at 13 years old. So I must have been doing something right, It was a pretty impressive amateur wrestling career I had. And then I played a couple years of semi-pro football and then got right into professional wrestling at 21. So,
Well, let me hold you on this one, and I'm going to try to answer as honestly as possible. You in your prime against Brock Lesnar in the prime amateur wrestling, you have a shot at beating him?
I do have a shot. I would say it's probably 60-40 Brock Lesnar, just because he won a couple national titles at Minnesota. But I was fucking tough, man. I mean, I was a great Greco-Roman wrestler. I was a great freestyle wrestler, and I was just a great wrestler. And I used my weight to my advantage, just like Brock. Brock wrestled heavyweight for the University of Minnesota, so we would have both been in the same weight class. And I would have had a legitimate shot at beating Brock Lesnar back in the day.
Love it. So it's common knowledge now. You've been doing this show for at least 2 months, and your name is starting to really get out there. You're getting invited to do interviews, and I'm hearing the Mentor name more in the last, say, 3 months than I've had in the last 5 years. And that's certainly not an insult towards you, Mike. I'm just trying to state the facts. I'm going to play a video right now of last Monday. Click this. And I want to understand why people's stories are so different. So I'm going to play this video right now, and then I'm going to ask you to discuss Kevin Nash's comments that what happened between you and Scott Hall. So
were you now you would have gotten on your television the Sheik's product?
Yes.
Big Time Wrestling.
That was what I watched growing up.
And, of course, Sean Waltman's favorite wrestler, Pompero Firpo.
Mine was Moose Chodlak.
Any Moose Chodlak reference that you can whip out over the next few weeks.
It's just one of those things that's when people say, "Oh, man, he's not a good worker." Fuck that, man. I didn't give a fuck. I just thought he was a big old dude that carried a moose head.
Exactly.
I didn't give a fuck.
Was that I saw a video? Was that him who couldn't get in the ring? I don't think that was him. Somebody couldn't get the gimmick through the ropes one time.
That might have been Minotaur.
You know what? It might have been. Now that you mention it, yeah.
Have you ever seen the fucking? They brought Minotaur in. He was the nicest guy on earth. And
who was Mantar again?
I can't remember who it was.
Go ahead, talk. I'll look it up.
But anyway, so he takes that fucking the helmet off, the mask, whatever the fuck you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
Takes his giant furry Shockmaster dome off, and he's standing there in front of Scott, and Scott just fucking, he hit him with an open hand about as hard as you can hit a person on TV. I fucking had to hold my dickhead in the back at the monitor. I thought I was going to piss myself. I was like, God damn, man. Like,
Mike Halleck was his name. It's not who I thought it was. Oh, David.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, this was, you and I talked about this the other day, and when I got home from taking my daughter to the doctor, the first thing I did was I pulled up this episode on Click This and was listening to Kevin Nash, and I listened to the whole episode. It was a great episode, great podcast, and I hope to be where them guys are at someday. I
You
think
will.
I'm well on my way. But this was the nicest version that I've ever heard come out of Kevin Nash's mouth. Um, I mean, he was really cordial towards me. He was like, "Yeah," he's like, that Mantar, he says, he was a really good guy too, really nice guy, and was saying all these nice things about me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Is he on some kind of fucking drugs again, or what's going on here? Because I heard him a couple years ago say, I remember because somebody asked him a question about, have you ever seen somebody taking a liberty or cheap shot against somebody? And this fucking incident with me and Razor Ramon in the ring came right to the top of his head, and he was quick about it. He was like, yeah, one day I'm sitting in catering watching the monitor, and he said Scott's out there starting to wrestle with Mantar, and he said they do a couple spots, and all of a sudden he says, I see Scott Hall open hand Mantar slap him harder than I've ever seen somebody get slapped in my life. Knocked the fucking chiclets out of him, and really made Mantar look stupid. And I'm thinking, brother, were you and me watching the same fucking clip? Because, yeah, he did try to slap the chiclets out of my mouth. I just shook my fucking head 2 or 3 times and charged him, picked him up, drove him in the corner, and started beating the fucking shit out of him. And so, whether somebody takes a cheap shot like that or not, is irrelevant. That just shows you the kind of character Scott Hall is. He just got, at that time, came out of fucking drug rehab for like the 117,000th time. And before he went into drug rehab, he dropped the belt to Double J. And I was his very first match out of drug rehab. And I was undefeated at the time. Had never lost. And this is probably 5 months into my Mantar character. And I haven't lost. And he was like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, man, but what about what I want to do? I was like, I'm undefeated here too. And I'm trying to make a name for myself. And if you're not going to do my shit, I'm not going to do your shit. So we can go out there and have a fight, or we can go out there and work with each other. And he was like, all right, man, we'll go out there and work with each other. Well, he threw that working shit right out the fucking window, the very first spot, man. And I mean, he slapped me fucking as hard as he could, bro. I mean, I almost seen stars, but I shook that shit off, man. And we got in a fucking fight in the ring. I remember Vince was watching it in the monitor in the back, and he was in the referee's earpiece. Tell them 2 fuckers that they're on national TV and save that shit for the back. And so we got back to work, man. And after that, we had a good match. I did what he wanted. He did what I wanted. So, he understood at that time that he wasn't going to fucking punk me out. He wasn't going to take advantage of me. And so, the first 2 or 3 times I've heard Kevin Nash tell this story, none of it was positive and in my favor. But when he told it the other day, he shed a whole different light on the subject. And I'm glad he finally told people what kind of person I was and what kind of person I am, because I am a really nice guy. I'll work with anybody, and so, I mean, I was, kind of humbled a little bit by what, Kevin Nash said the other day, but that's the first version of that story that I've ever heard him tell. So I was quite pleased.
Well, which is fine, but I think to myself, how does a guy's story change like that over the years? Is it just because the boys are just used to working people all the time? They can't keep up with their lies? I mean, what is it?
I was told a long time ago, man, you should always tell the truth, because it's much easier to forget a lie than it is the truth. And I remember one time I got in a little legal trouble, and I told my attorney to put me on the fucking stand. I wanted to testify. He said, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, why? I said, don't you want to hear the fucking truth? Don't you want to hear my story? I said, nobody's going to fucking trump me up. I says, because if you're telling the truth, you ain't got nothing to hide. All you have is the truth. I don't have to worry about telling no lies because their version of the story is all fucking made up bullshit. I'm the only one here that's telling the truth. And when I got off the stand, he was like, Mike, that was the best thing you ever did. And I was like, I told you, bro, it's easy to forget lies, but it's easy to remember the truth. And, you know, in this wrestling business, people are so used to telling people what they want to hear in the moment, or they get caught up in the moment, or, you know, or who they're talking to. They want to impress the person they're talking to. But yeah, man, I mean, it's easy to tell the truth, but it's easy to forget a lie. And I think that maybe he just forgot what he had said previously. And finally, for once, he told the fucking truth because he's 60 years old and he has no reason to lie anymore, right?
Right. Well, so it always amazed me that your career didn't go farther in the WWE, right? You're a huge guy. I mean, perfect for the Northeast where, you know, I grew up watching wrestling. You know, we don't have Paul with us, so Paul really can't speak for himself, but I'm going to ask you this question, right? You guys had a relationship, but did Paul's WCW run cause you issues in the WWF?
Absolutely it did. You know, number one, they thought we were brothers. And number two, everybody and their fucking sister was calling Paul a thief. And I think I told this story a couple of weeks ago on the podcast where Shawn Michaels pulled me aside outside of catering one day, outside these garage doors. And he started asking me all these questions about Paul. And I'm thinking, the fuck are you asking me about Paul for? I says, I'm not related to him. I says, you know, we're not brothers. We're not cousins. We're not sisters. We're not anything. We're no relation. So why are you coming to me with this? And he was like, well, I heard you guys were brothers. I said, well, you fucking heard wrong, dude. And, you know, it did hurt us. It did hurt me. It hurt me when I tried to get a job in the WCW. They brought that shit up with Paul. And again, it had nothing to do with me. And it cost me and Paul a job when we went in 2010 and had a tryout with New York, when him and I cleared the fucking locker room out and everybody's standing on the stage watching us do this little dark match deal during the afternoon. And so, you know, rumors do affect people, true or untrue. You know, I've been around Paul, like I said, for the last 30 years, and we've been in any and every situation that you can think of. And I mean, I've had thousands of dollars on my person, and I would leave it on the table. And you know what? When I got back to that money after I woke up, I never once had to think about counting how much money I had to see if any of it was fucking missing. The Paul New I know is not a thief. He's a pretty stand-up guy, and he's a pretty good friend to have. We all have our fuck-ups in life, and, you know, some of them we're guilty of, and some of them we're not guilty of. But, you know, sometimes professional wrestlers take the liberty of being the judge, jury, and the executioner. And I don't think that's fair. And I think it only happens when they're jealous of the person, right? And if you're getting a push and someone don't like you, they're going to start rumors because they don't want to see you succeed for one reason or another. And it really doesn't have to be a good reason because, you know, for example, Shawn Michaels, let's just say he started the fucking rumor. Well, I'm not going to take his spot because he's a fucking midget, and he's not going to take my spot because I'm a super heavyweight. So we shouldn't have to worry about each other, right? But that's not always the case in the locker room. If somebody gets butthurt over something you said or something you did, they're going to fucking bury you. And, you know, I knew when I got in that bullshit with Scott Hall, I knew he was part of the clique, and I knew my days were numbered. And after that, you see me get beat by Duke. You see me get beat by Adam Baum. You see me get beat by Bret Hart. You see me get beat by Bam Bam Bigelow the Monday before WrestleMania, which, you know, if you want to see two 400-pound guys have a fucking simply outstanding match, I encourage everybody that's listening to go watch Mantar versus Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, we had a fucking classic, instant classic, and it was phenomenal. And you've seen two 400-pound guys go out there and wrestle each other like they're wrestling another middleweight. I mean, we're slamming each other. We're suplexing each other. You know, I'm forklifting him. He's doing all his shit, headbutt off the top rope. I mean, it all happened, man, and it was a great fucking match. And so if you want to see what kind of worker I am, just go watch me, you know, wrestle Bam Bam Bigelow, and you'll answer your own questions, you know. And Kevin Nash has already said, for fuck's sakes, that I'm a really nice guy, and, you know, I'm a great guy and a really cool dude. And so that I didn't deserve that. Well, I don't give a fuck if I deserved it or not, man. It wasn't like I just stood there and took it. I didn't take it like no bitch, right? So, and for me, that's all that matters. I could give a shit less, you know, who open hand slaps me across the face as hard as they can, because before I would get in the ring with anybody, from the very first guy I've ever wrestled to the last guy I wrestled, I'd always say, listen, whatever you do, you better lay that shit in, because otherwise I'm not going to sell it. You know, I'm an amateur wrestler, and so I'm pretty snug and pretty stiff anyway, and I'm not going to be working out there like a feather. And if you throw a punch at me and you miss me by a fucking foot and a half, I'm not selling it. If you go to clothesline me and I don't feel that forearm fucking wrap around my chest and my neck, I ain't taking a fucking bump. I don't give a shit how hard you fucking hit me. You know, I remember at the beginning of the World Rumble back in '95 in Tampa, Florida. The pig farmer, what was his name?
God, they were just on our show. Godwin's.
Yeah, Henry Godwin. So I remember he was hitting me with the fucking couple clotheslines, and I was in the Royal Rumble, so I didn't take no fucking bump, right? And, you know, I got chastised for it, and I was like, listen, he just hit me with the fucking clothesline. I'm 400 fucking pounds. I'm 100 pounds heavier than he is. I'm supposed to take a fucking bump? Fuck you. You take the fucking bump if you want to take the bump. You know?
Right.
I'm not taking the fucking bump. You know what I mean? If I'm going to take a bump, you better surprise me, or it better be something fucking devastating if you want me to sell that shit. Because otherwise, I ain't selling it. You know? Just plain and simple.
You know, Mike, I want to get into some sports question with you, but I got one final question. Do you just dislike Scott Hall because of that one event, or was it other things that made you dislike him?
Well, I'll tell you what, it has a lot to do with that one event. But in all actuality, you know, the Scott Hall that you've seen on TV wasn't the Scott Hall that was in the fucking back. The Scott Hall that was in the locker room was a fucking arrogant, pilled up, drunken prick. You know, plain and simple, man. He was not a nice dude. And he might have been nice on occasions, but he was a fucking asshole more than 50% of the time, except for the people that he was in the clique with, right? He never treated none of them wrong. He never disrespected none of them, never ribbed none of them, never got smart with none of them. Only the fucking people that, you know, he felt intimidated by. So in a way, I kind of take it as a compliment. The Scott Hall chose to fucking try to knock the shit out of me, because that tells me that he was intimidated by me and he was afraid of me, and he figured that he better get the first fucking blow in. Well, he got the first one in, but I got the last one in. But yeah, I mean, you know, it had a little bit to do with it, but for the most part, Scott was just a fucking pilled up, drunken fucking dick.
And I know Scott, I know Kevin said some really nice things about you, and I know that made you feel good. Has that changed your opinion about Kevin Nash now?
No, that just tells me that he didn't remember all the fucking previous lies that he fucking told, right? You know, so, I mean, listen, I would sit down with Kevin Nash and have a fucking beer and sort out any fucking difficulties that he has or don't have man to man. I personally don't think he has any beef with me whatsoever. I don't have any beef with him except for I've heard him embellish this Razor Ramon story 4 or 5 times in the past 20 years. But other than that, I don't have any problem with Kevin. He's a great guy. He, in my opinion, he really wasn't the greatest fucking wrestler. He was kind of the fucking shits. But he's a big son of a bitch, man. And if someone like him doesn't make any money, nobody's going to make any money. I got to tell you one story while we're on the subject about Razor Ramon, just to cement my point. So we're on a California tour, and we're out in California for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I wrestled the British Bulldog on the whole tour. Fucking was a breeze, man. So simple, so easy. And one night we got done, and everybody was flying out of LAX the next morning. So after the show, everybody went back to the fucking strip club and got hammered and went to the nightclub, whatever we did. But the Men on a Mission, Mo and Mabel, I was with Mo and Mabel. I was with them. And we were at the Waffle House at the LAX airport. And we're sitting there and we're finishing our breakfast. And this was probably 2:30, 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, man. It was late. And, none of us had been drinking really that night. And, I'm not a big drinker anyway. I'm just a fucking pot smoker. And so we're sitting there finishing our breakfast. And in comes the 1, 2, 3 kid and Razor Ramon. And back then, when I worked for the WWF, oxycodone, Valium, and Somas were the drugs of choice. And most likely it was Somas. I mean, there was Somas. Everybody had Somas. And Scott, of course, was on another one of his fucking binges. And he came in and he was fucked up, man. He could barely walk. And the thing with Somas is they're not really going to kick in until you eat some food. Once you eat some food, them things are going to hit you like a fucking Mack truck. And so we're all sitting in there, we're eating our breakfast and shit, and these 2 fucking clowns come walking in. And they come walking in, and they sit down, and they order some fucking food. I remember Razor ordered some fucking oatmeal and ordered a bunch of other shit, but he started with his oatmeal. And so we're all sitting there together, kind of chopping it up and eating. And Razor is on about his 4th or 5th spoon of his fucking oatmeal. And he fucking takes that spoon of oatmeal, puts it in his mouth, swallows it, and then takes a fucking face bump right into the bowl of his oatmeal. Now, you can hear this fucker gurgling. I mean, he's got oatmeal going in his mouth. He's got oatmeal going in his nostrils. He's got oatmeal going in his eyeballs, in his ears. And fucking Sean Waltman looks at me and Men on a Mission like, are you guys going to fucking do something here? And we looked at fucking Sean and said, listen, bro, he is not our friend. If you're not going to fucking save him, that fucker's going to die in his oatmeal. And Shawn Michaels fucking grabs him by the fucking hair and picks him up, and he goes, took a big deep breath, but almost killed himself because he was all pilled up on fucking Somas. So that tells you what kind of fucking guy Scott Hall was outside the ring and after the show. He was a fucking pillhead, and he was a drunk. And so, my dad has been an alcoholic for 42 years, 43 years. But my father also hasn't taken a drink since I've been 12 years old. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Once a drug addict, always a drug addict. But are you clean and sober? Or are you still that same fucking addict that everybody knows and loves, right? And, my dad is an alcoholic because he used to be a drunk. But he's been sober for 42 years, where Scott Hall tried to get clean, didn't really do a very good fucking job of it, tried hundreds of times, And in my end, he was still a fucking failure because, you know, he died fucking being a fucking drunk and a fucking pillhead, you know? So I don't have no sympathy for him. I ain't got nothing nice to fucking say about him. You know, if you want to rile up my feathers, all you got to do is bring up fucking Razor Ramon and you'll get the job done.
Well, that was, that's for sure,
Hey.
man. I mean, that wasn't the point. You know, it's just that, you know, again, we started off, you know, talking about the show about people being fake and everything else. And then you see all this stuff happening. And, you know, it's you kind of want to get inside your mind thinking about, you know, what made you think about Scott Hall like that. But totally point
Well,
taken.
you know, just he just a fucking, plain and simple, he was a fucking dick and an asshole. And in my opinion, a fucking chump. He wasn't tough, you know. I mean, he proved that to me backstage in the fucking locker room after the match. So he was just another fucking wannabe fucking tough guy. And, you know, Paul will have nothing but nice things to say about him because he had nothing but good interactions with him. But myself, on the other hand, that's a whole nother story. So, you know, you got a person treating people a certain way and they're treating other people another way. In my opinion, that's just fucking a piece of shit fucking person that has no character, right? You know, you should treat.
I think you hit on the head, man. If he was intimidated by you, then he went after you a certain way. If he wasn't intimidated by you, maybe that's why he was nice to people. Who knows? There's two sides to everybody, right? So
yeah, you know, and unfortunately, you know, Scott's dead, and you know he's not responding. So you're only hearing one side of the story. So either you can believe me or you don't. I really don't give a shit. All I know is I was fucking there. He was there. The referee was there. And Vince was there. We were the only fucking people there. And besides all them agents that were pulling us apart when I was trying to fucking whoop his ass back in the locker room, you know? So I'm just, you know, I'm a straight shooter, man. I don't have time for, you know, people's fucking bullshit. You know, like I said, I'm a straight shooter.
you know, Mike, if I can interject, I think to me the bigger problem of the whole deal is what you said about 20 minutes earlier, that they cost you your job, which means they cost you to lose money and not be able to take care of your family over trivial stuff. And
absolutely,
this brings me back to this wrestling thing where, you know, where's the human empathy of things and where's the taking care of the other human being, you know?
Well, you know, and, you know, I mean, if they didn't cost me the job, if someone didn't cost me the job and I got fired the first time because someone didn't like me, well, then why would you bring me back a year later, a year and a half later, and then another year after that, right? I mean, obviously, someone seen that I was a great fucking athlete and that I was a good hand and that I could make them some fucking money. But, you know, there was them same fucking people that were there during the whole fucking process. And who knows, maybe they cock-blocked me again. I have no idea. All I know is that I did 3 different characters for New York in a matter of 3.5 years, probably. And Vince, in my opinion, dropped the ball on every single one of them. If he'd have listened to me from Jump Street, you know, I'd be a millionaire by now, and we'd be telling a whole different fucking story.
Right.
But, you know, obviously somebody's seen something in me and they liked it. Otherwise, why are you going to fire a guy and then bring him back in a year and put another gimmick on him, and then he gives you what you want, you fire him again, and then you bring him back a year and a half later to do another gimmick? You know, so, I mean, fuck, who knows, man? I don't know. It's all, that's fucking, the past is the past, and, you know, I'm living my best life now down here in Cape Coral, Florida, and that's really all the fucking shit that matters to me, man. You know, I wake up every day, I can look myself in the mirror, and I'm happy with what I see, and, you know, that's what's important, you know. I mean, you know, we all have demons, we all have shit in our life that we're not proud of, but at the end of the day, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and you're happy with that person, then kudos to you, man. Keep on fucking trucking, because I not only want to succeed myself, but I want to see you, Monty. I want to see you succeed. I want to see Pharaoh succeed. I want to see who's ever in my path or in my circle. I want to see all them people succeed, right? Because
yes, I feel exactly the same way. Look, we got about 10 minutes left. So last episode, playoffs started, right? Seemed like both in hockey and basketball, all roads were leading through Boston. I think you would agree with that. Here we are today. The Bruins were knocked out in shocking fashion, and the 76ers are giving the Celtics all they can handle. What's going on? Has your mind changed on who is winning these championships in both leagues?
Well, I still truly believe that Boston is the best team in the NBA. I mean, they are tied with the Philadelphia 76ers now one game apiece. Philadelphia bounced back and won the last game, or they're winning tonight, actually. They're beating them by 31 points, 110-79, with 4 minutes to go in the game. So the Celtics have bounced back. They tied things up. Joel Embiid won the MVP of the league, which I think was, overdue for sure. Nikola Jokic has won it for Denver the last couple of years. But yeah, man, I mean, the Lakers, oh my God. I wrote the Lakers off on episode 1, 2.5 months ago. I wrote them off. And here they are. They're tied with Golden State in the second round, one game apiece. And I'll tell you what, man, the Lakers have shown up. LeBron's really turned this team around. And to be honest with you, more than LeBron has turned the team around, I think Anthony Davis has finally showed up to play basketball. Because in my opinion, Anthony Davis is the catalyst of the Los Angeles Lakers. If he's having an off night, they're having an off night. If he's shooting them turnaround jumpers from 20 feet, passing the ball, setting up people for dunks, the Lakers are successful. Denver has jumped out to a not surprising 2-0 lead against the Phoenix Suns. They jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and I always said that Denver was going to win the West. The other top, the number 2 seed, Milwaukee, they got ousted by Milwaukee, Memphis. They got ousted by the Lakers in the first round. And but yeah, the Lakers so far, in my opinion, are the surprise team in the NBA playoffs. And I'm sure that would make Paul and Tim Beal very happy because they are both diehard Laker fans. And so, yeah, I mean, the Lakers have shown up in the playoffs. It's about time that they showed up this year. And in my opinion, the fucking best time to watch NBA basketball is during the playoffs because that's where the cream rises to the top. All that other bullshit for 78, 80 games, that means fucking nothing. And it don't matter. I think the Lakers came in as a 7 or 8 seed, 7 seed, I think. And, now they're playing the number 5 seed or 4 seed in Golden State. And so, the Lakers are doing well, but I think Denver is still going to be the top team in the West. And I think that Boston is going to end up hanging on and being the NBA champions of 2023.
Did the Knicks make it past the Miami Heat?
The Knicks are tied 1-1 with Miami. They lost the first game in New York in the Garden, and then they won yesterday 111-105. And so I mean it's I like the Knicks. I think they're playing some basketball. But yeah, I can't see anybody beating Boston in a 7-game series, and when it comes to hockey, the Carolina Hurricanes look like they're the team to beat this year in the NHL. living in Florida, I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan and a Florida Panthers fan. But Tampa Bay just got ousted by Toronto in the first round in Game 7. And the New York Rangers actually got their clock cleaned by the New Jersey Devils in Game 7. I think it was 5-1 was the final. 4-0 or 5-1. I can't remember. I know it was a 4-goal spread. But the Rangers jumped out in that series right out of the gate, 2-0. And I was on the Rangers bandwagon because they've been my team pretty much for my whole life, the New York Rangers. And I was all over on their bandwagon. And you know what? The New Jersey Devils, man, came back and put it in their keister. So kudos to the New Jersey Devils. You know, I mean, up there you got the Rangers and the Devils, right? In the New York area. And you already said that you're a Rangers fan, right?
Yep.
So why aren't you a New Jersey Devils fan, can I ask?
Well, I'm from Long Island, New York, so most Islanders, Long Islanders, like the Islanders.
Yes.
But I'm a Ranger, Jet, Knicks, Yankee fan. So most people are usually Met, Islander, Jets, Nets fan. So I'm a Knicks fan also. But that being said, I went to the Garden on Saturday night where the Rangers defeated the Devils in an incredible game. But watching that game, I was telling people you could just see how much better the Devils actually were than the Rangers. It was evident, even though the Devils lost that game 6. So it wasn't surprising to see that final blowout.
Yeah, you know, the last 2 games of that series, both home teams handed it to the visiting team, right? Because the Rangers handed it to New Jersey when you went and seen them, I believe. And New Jersey came back and handled it 2 days later at their home ice. So, you know, home ice is huge in the NHL. It's a lot more of an advantage, I think, than any other sport out there. Home advantage in hockey is just something about it, man. Very strong. I don't know if the road teams play too many games before they get to where they're going or what, but the home field advantage in the NHL has always been much stronger than any other sport, in my opinion.
Well, let me jump over to the Jets. I want your expert opinion there.
Oh, shit.
Last week, right, they got Aaron Rodgers. Are the Jets now a Super Bowl contender, or you just think maybe they make the playoffs?
Fuck no. They're not even going to make the playoffs, man. You know, the Jets would be lucky if they be a 500 team again. You know, it takes more than just one player to make a team successful, okay? You know, you got to have other people in place. And granted, the Jets, their defense isn't too bad, but their offense is fucking atrocious. And, I mean, I think if they get a new running back and another receiver or two, then I would say, okay, Jets might have a chance of making the playoffs. Excuse me, but one player does not make a championship team. One player does not make a playoff team, especially in the NFL.
All right, Mike, we're out of time. Some really great lessons and great stories you told. The one thing I think we'll get out of this episode is, you know, life is getting really weird out there. We got to start showing a little empathy towards each other. So, Mike, if you could send a message to your listeners and the fans and send us on out, that'd be great.
Yeah, you know, if you got some goals in mind or you're out there trying to achieve goals every day, you know, it's better to achieve them goals later than never. You know, keep on plugging along. Just try to have some more empathy for the human race. And because, like I said, you never know what somebody else is going through. And just open up your heart to a little bit more love and kindness. And just try to, you know, be a little bit more even keel, you know. And on that note, you know what time it is. It's time for the SOB Sports Network motto. And the motto of today is, you only die once, but you live every day. Ooh.